Thanks everyone for joining us today. We have a really good group on the line here. And it's definitely unique circumstances to have this Q&A, but I'm excited about it, and I think it's going to be helpful for me and for the Okta team, and also hopefully for the group on the call. So let me just start off by talking a little bit about how we at Okta and how myself as a leader is thinking about the times we're going through and how to best navigate and manage through these times. And I think the one thing that's very clear to everyone, it's been very clear for several weeks now, is that there's a lot of uncertainty. And naturally, when there's uncertainty, there's a lot of anxiety and a lot of stress about what people should be doing and what are the right actions going forward. And I feel like for me and for the team, when there's a lot of uncertainty, it helps to go back to think about your fundamental priorities and what are the values, the basic values and your basic priorities you have, and then try to as best as you can frame everything around those. And then for us, and for me, it's really clear that the top priority is the safety and the health of the employees of Okta and their families, and by extension, the Okta community. So that's, as we've made decisions through this as things have unfolded, we've really had that be our number one priority. And then the second priority for Okta and for the team is the stability and the security and the reliability of the Okta service. We're doing important work here, enabling people to continue to use technology, access it remotely, make sure it's securely, and that's part of our DNA, and it's something that we're totally focused on, as one of our highest priorities. And then after that, the third priority is really, it may be a little bit, the first two priorities probably aren't surprising to people, but the third priority is really all about agility and what can we do to be agile and flexible. And really, in times of uncertainty, those that can adapt and be flexible and change the fastest with appropriate for the times and for the conditions are going to thrive in those conditions. So it's all about adaptability. What can we do to help people? What can we do to be flexible, take advantage of new opportunities, change plans if things aren't working out? Flexibility, and that's really something that I've been trying to communicate with the team, and as we work through running our business and our plans, that's really important to us. And I should say also that one thing that is very clear to us and the entire team and the entire extended Okta community is that we're in a pretty good position in terms of we have a company that is easy to work from home. The technology is very distributed, and that's not the case for the true heroes in this situation, which are the people on the front lines, the healthcare workers, the people that have to go to work, police, fire, people that can't work from home. Those people are the real heroes, and I really want to give those people a shout out and take my hat off to them because they're doing great work, and I really respect all the things they're doing, and they're really the backbone of this whole thing. So keep it up out there. So back to a little bit specific to Okta. I think that, I talked about employee safety as a priority, keeping the service running, and then being agile and continue to run the business because, our business is a business that can really run effectively in times like this because of the distributed nature and because of what the core technology is doing, but it requires us to be flexible. And then the last thing is that's a really kind of an underlying principle for me, and something that's important is that as a leader, and as I'm sure a lot of people out there are leading big groups or small groups or companies, that you really have to be present and you have to over communicate with your team, and that's really, really important, both for just for like confidence of the team, and for people knowing what's in your head and knowing what you're thinking, and as things change and you try to adapt and be flexible, the more you can be present and the more you can over communicate, the better. And that's really the genesis of this Q&A session. We felt like the best way for us to help everyone get through this, and for us to get good feedback, and for our greater community to get to better collaborate, we should just get online and talk about it. And I think that if, I'm trying to echo this in everything I'm doing, over communicating, and my team is as well. And hopefully, that's something that everyone can do to make things better. The last, as I was going through the priorities, I talked about employee safety, keeping the service up. Another really, really important priority for us is customer success. And it's really ingrained in the Okta culture. It's our #1 company value. It's something we always talk about it as a hallmark of our culture. And especially in times like these, making sure that the team is really, really oriented around making sure customers are successful. That's really important to me. And I think, we're doing a good job of that. And it's, like I said, it's something that we've kind of had built into our culture from the beginning. And I'm happy to see we're continuing that, but it's something as things change and we're agile and flexible, we have to make sure that we are always prioritizing helping our customers and being flexible with them, and making sure we, because all of our customers are adapting to, and we recognize that, and we're here for you all. So that's a little bit of a kickoff. I did want to, this is Coffee with Todd, so I wanted to show you, I got out of the back shelves of the closet, I got a classic Okta coffee mug filled with real coffee, and it comes with a very early marketing slogan from Okta. I don't know if you can read that, but this is a classic one. So maybe we can send one of these out free to the person who asked the best question. So here's the coffee talk. All right, so we can start with questions. I know there were some submitted on the Zoom, on the SurveyMonkey, but I know there's a bunch more coming in, so we can get started now. So the first question is, building off of what you said before, how do you balance being a leader, a dad, and a husband in times like this? I think, one of the things I'm really, I mentioned Okta is fortunate about how we're fairly flexible about, 35% of our workforce already works from home. They're field sales, or they're customer support, or customer professional services people that are working out of their home all the time, and it's very conducive for them to do web meetings, and their tech stack is very flexible for that. So while it's a change and a big shift for them, it's not as big of an impact of other people. And similarly to our family, it's, the kids' school has gone online, and Roxanne, my wife, her work is pretty flexible with the work she's been doing, and her ability to have a flexible schedule and work online. And our house has a place for everyone to sit down and work independently, and our Wi-Fi is good. So we're very, very, very fortunate in that the situation for us is fairly manageable. But I think that a lot of those things I talked about before, just really realizing that everyone is stressed and everyone is trying to think about the future, and the future is unpredictable, and that makes people apprehensive, and trying to be, the best I can is understanding of that, and, giving everyone extra space, knowing that they're, thinking about a lot of anxiety and so forth, and uncertainty, and the more we can do to just kind of be agile and be flexible and control what we control, I think that makes it all easier. That's a good question, though. Probably ask my wife the same question. She might have a different answer. So the next question is, this is a particularly tough time for employees who are parents who lost childcare and are required to homeschool kids. Considering that the outlook seems like this will be long, I think is the question. I think this will be a long-term setup. What are we doing to help? What are you doing to help Okta parents? It's a good question, and I think that the first thing is that there's just a level of understanding that this is a reality, and that and we've talked about with our managers at Okta, and I've talked about this with my team, that there's a level of understanding that this is the reality, and there's got to be flexibility. And and if you might have to have your team members back in times like this, maybe they can't work during normal hours, maybe they can't work at all for a while. Other people need to step up to help them, and be agile and be adaptive. That's the priority is health and safety of the employees and their families, and if that means that parents have to spend time with their kids, that's very important, and we'll make up for it, and we'll have their back. We have a big enough team where we can have the business continue to run and thrive with people stepping up, and I know that families are doing this, stepping up for each other as well. I know that parents are switching off and letting one spouse work while the other spouse, while the other partner takes care of kids or their switches, and being flexible. And the other thing about just reminds me overall too, which is the way we think about this, the whole situation, is that it's adaptability and flexibility in the short term to really thrive in the long term. I mean, we're trying to take a long-term view of this, and there might be some short-term bumps and maybe deliverables or projects we can get done, but in the long term, we're going to thrive. What we're doing is important for the ecosystem and the industry long term, and we're going to make sure that we are agile and adaptive in the short term with our relationships and with our working situations and with our parents, and we're going to have each other's back, and then in the long term we're going to thrive and be successful. But it's not an easy situation, so and I've been impressed with how people have been stepping up and being flexible, and how people at Okta have been understanding when as parents have had to pitch in and do extra hours and extra time during work to take care of the kids. Okay. Next question. What are some of the trends that you're seeing with our customers and the concerns that they have during this pandemic? So it's interesting. I think overall, everyone is, I would say it definitely varies by industry and by type of company. I mentioned before that Okta we're built in the cloud. We're very 35% of the workforce is remote already. The ones that aren't remote are very capable of working remotely. The technical infrastructure, the people that run the Okta service, all the teams can work from anywhere. They can, in a highly secure and reliable and manageable way, connect and maintain and run the service and do their work. So our company is I think we're very, very fortunate that the impact for us as a company will be different and possibly less than for some other companies. Depending on the industry you're in, it's super. Some companies in certain industries like travel and so forth have super bad impacts already. Other industries less so. So it really varies by customer. But what we have seen is that the demand on the Okta service is increasing just in terms of the traffic. So more authentications, more multi-factor logins and so forth. And it's up to us to make sure that we, as I'm totally confident we will, to support that and keep that running and keep that stable. You see certain things like as more people start to work from home and maybe don't have their work computer, they have to log in with things like a voice factor. So features of the service, you see big organizations having to really, we saw some big organizations really escalating single sign-on integrations for web meeting software where they hadn't before. So you can see the demands on the service being pushed because companies are adjusting to this, and we're very focused on continuing to have flawless reliability and flawless support for that. So it's changing every company differently. I think that in terms of overall, we're being flexible and we're being adaptive, and it's we're also being open-minded that it's still relatively early in all this. This is we've only really been a week or so, depending on where you live, to really having people being working from home at scale. And so we're really we're thinking that this is we're gonna have to be on a heightened alert for a while and be agile and be flexible for a while. And and by the way, we'd like the feedback too on how we're doing. You can email me directly. I sent out an email for this webinar at tmckinnon@okta.com. Goes right to me. If you have feedback, there's also a bunch of other forums on the support portal and so forth, but we welcome the feedback. Okay, so let's see. We've got a bunch of great questions rolling in here. Okay, so two related questions. How are you working for culture within Okta now, with more people working remotely, and how do you keep people engaged and focused? So there's a question about culture and remote work. And then what advice can you give to those not used to working from home? How do you structure your day, keep motivated, keep productive, keep successful? I'm actually not very good. I'm not a very good person to give advice about working from home. I always go to the office. I don't really, I kind of am, the way I would put it is I'm kind of always thinking about Okta and thinking about work on a part of my brain, but whenever I really have to sit down and work, before this, I really go to the office. So I'm learning like a lot of people are. And then I would say that a lot of my time when I am at work is in meetings and discussions, and those are pretty easy to replicate over to online meetings and do a Zoom meeting. So it's been pretty seamless for me so far. But the one thing I would say is that, communication, I mean, it's kind of, it's Captain Obvious here, but communication is different. But I would say writing things down and sharing more, write-ups and summaries and, what I did today, what I was thinking about today. We have a group that is one of our groups that is very distributed. It's the Developer Evangelist group. And the leader of that group, he does a great job for a long time. He basically writes a great summary of what everyone in the group did for the week. And he sends it out every week, and it's really valuable. I think that's a good example of the more you can write down and the more you can post and the more you can share asynchronously is probably better in a remote environment. But we're all learning. And then the question about culture and the question about, how do people feel working remotely? I think being visible and checking in and, doing phone calls. I've been one of the things I've been doing is trying to call my direct reports more than I ever do. Usually I just kind of see them in meetings or see them in our one-on-ones, but I've been trying to just give them a call and check in, if I see an email from them and if they're asking me a question and it's, I'll just pick up the phone and give them a call, where before maybe I would have done an email response, and just trying to be more present, trying to get online and talk to them more often and over communicate. I wish I had a better, more prescriptive answer, but that's kind of my thoughts on it right now. Okay, next question. Is Okta for Good planning on working with local communities to help the businesses and people who are impacted by the shutdown? I know that the Okta for Good team is busy and doing a great job, like they always do, coordinating a few things. One is that what a lot of community organizations need right now is money, right? We do a lot of stuff with the community with our team, with the community around volunteering and so forth. But right now, community organizations need money. And I know that the Okta for Good team is actively doing grants, and they're sorting through a bunch of people we worked with and doing cash grants to key groups in the community that need it now. And at times, a lot of nonprofits actually raise a lot of their annual budget through banquets and fundraising dinners and auctions and so forth. And a lot of those things are just can't happen. So where folks can step up and try to fill some of that funding gap, there's a chance there. But we're open to more suggestions too. I know that Aaron and our team there are doing a great job, and Freddie and I are working closely with them to make sure that they have everything they need. And I know the Okta team will be there to support the community as well, because we need these organizations for the long term, because when we all get through this, they're going to be thriving along with Okta to help serve their missions, which are incredibly important. Okay, all the questions are coming in. I keep losing my place in the list here. Okay, I got that one, Okta for Good. Okay, feel free to, okay, here we go. I think this is a, we are doing, one of the things we're doing about connectedness and staying kind of synced up as a team, we're doing virtual happy hours on Zoom and Slack, where we're getting together and hanging out online. And so that's something we're doing. We're using the online tools, not just for meetings, but also just coordinated informal get-togethers. I got to be honest, I haven't joined a virtual happy hour yet, so I'm a little bit out of touch with those, but maybe I'll have to join and try to hang out on that. Okay, so next up. Okay, so there's a lot of questions about will Okta be okay and will our jobs be okay? So there's a bunch of, I'm just reading them here. I think this is a natural thing to be concerned about, right? Health, safety, financial security. Anytime times are uncertain and things are shifting, people are going to worry about their hierarchy of needs, and jobs and financial are part of that. I think specific to Okta, I think Okta is in a strong position, and we have a very, very strong balance sheet. We have a very, very strong business. We have a business that I think, as I mentioned before, is there's medium-term uncertainty, and definitely more medium-term uncertainty than there was 3 to 6 months ago. But the long term is that the future for Okta is incredibly, incredibly bright. We're providing a fundamental service in a technology world that needs it. And, I'm very, very confident about our future. And I'm very, very confident in our plan to be agile and adaptive and get through this with, very, very low impact to people's jobs or financial security. And we're going to thrive, and we're going to do whatever we can to thrive in the short term, in the medium term, and the long term. It would be pretty dramatic, pretty drastic change for me to feel, not nearly 100% confident in that. So hopefully that addresses some of that uncertainty. That's the thing about it, though. There's no in life, there's no 100% guarantee about the future, about anyone's future, and I think it is what's unsettling to people. But I have confidence that Okta is going to thrive, and we're going to be very successful together. Hi, Todd. I saw a headline that officials are saying that this pandemic could last up to 18 months, which is mind-blowing. How are we at Okta preparing for this worst-case scenario and the possibility that many companies who are struggling and have shut down will likely freeze IT spending budgets? Yeah, I think there's a lot of uncertainty, and I think that the one thing about what's going on is that everyone's an expert, right? If you look at your Twitter feed, everyone thinks they know what's going to happen, and the reality is that people don't know, and they don't know the timeframes. One thing, when I say be agile, be flexible, one thing we're doing, and we've always done this to some degree, is we have many different scenarios that we plan for, and many different contingency plans about what happens. And I think that I'm very confident in our ability to adapt as things change, whether it's 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 6 weeks, a year, 2 years, whatever, because we don't know. And I think trying to be too you can plan and you can model, but trying to be too prescriptive about what exactly is going to happen is kind of is fraught with peril. I think that, like I said it before, and I truly believe this, that if you look out in the future, there's going to be more technology, and certainly with something like what's going on now, everyone is seeing the importance of more technology and more communication technology and way to work virtually. And what we do is very involved in that. So I think we're on the right side of history. And whether that's whatever time frame you pick, we're on the right side of history, and we're providing a fundamental service that helps make that better. So I think we'll be well positioned to thrive in this environment, no matter how bumpy or unpredictable it might be over the next short and medium term. Good morning, Todd. Many organizations are being forced to work from home for the first time in their company history. Many media reports are saying that this is a forced work from home trial for the technology industry. Two-part question. What advice would you give to technology leaders that have their employees work from home for the first time? And how has Okta positioned themselves to assist with this initiative? I think that for technology leaders, I think it kind of, I would say it varies. The technology part, I think it's not that it's easy, but a lot of the times the technology part is the easiest part. We talked a little bit before about some of the cultural things and some of the challenges that, communication challenges. And so the technology part might be the easiest part, but I think that, and companies are on different spectrums from, some companies, they don't have, work computers they can log in from, and they don't have networks that can be accessed outside the premise, and all their services are on-prem. And so that's a pretty heavy lift technologically speaking. Other companies, it's more about, just really fully embracing the kind of the new security model of where, it's more cloud services and fewer things on the VPN and more flexibility, and then trying to do that in a way with that is, both easy to use, but also is, is not compromising on security. And so I think it's the technology challenge is like, how can you get more cloud involved? How can you get more things that are more flexible, which may or may not be possible if depending on what the the hardware situation is or so forth. There are a lot of good tools to help you balance, I say, flexibility and security. But it's it's kind of a specific question for specific companies. So do the key people supporting your critical operational activities have backup people who can replace them? The answer is that I mentioned before when I don't know if people maybe joined a little late, but our top two priorities are health and safety of our employees and our families and the communities, and then keeping the service running. So we're very, very mature and very, very focused on backup plans and backup plans for the backup plans and backup plans for those in terms of people and processes and how we keep the service running. So I feel very comfortable and confident that will continue. The one thing about it too is that from a technology perspective, sometimes people working on data center, technical operations, logging in, doing server administration and so forth, those are some of the hardest people if you don't start from kind of a dynamic work and a work from home environment. Those are some of the hardest people to get them access to the systems and also have it be secure. And having grown up like this in the cloud where technical operations was always accessing things from various locations and doing it in a secure and reliable way, I think we have an advantage there versus someone that maybe didn't start like that. So I'm very confident about that. We have a ton of questions. I'll try to maybe move a little faster. We have about a half hour left, so keep them coming. It's really good stuff. How are you helping our hourly employees through the crisis? And so this refers to, in our offices, we have a bunch of contingent and contract and hourly workers that help keep our offices awesome. And we're still paying them. They're still on the payroll. Our offices are all closed, so they're not coming into work, but we're still paying those salaries. We're in this for the long term, and we're going to need those people when we come out of this and get back to the offices. And we're confident that by paying them, that's the right decision for the business and the right decision for our teams and our community as well. Okay, Todd, do you expect a significant change in society and the usage of technology when this pandemic is over? I think that the way I look at it is that the arc of technology is that there's going to be more technology, and that there's going to be people are going to learn how to use it better. It's going to be we're going to work out some of the problems with some of the maybe the unintended consequences of technology, and get better focused around making it positive overall. And I think that that's inevitable. And I think that what's happening now, we could talk and debate about if it's accelerating it or it's changing it or how it's doing it. But I think in some ways it doesn't matter. I think the arc of history is that toward more technology. If we're flexible in the short term and do our best work over the next a few months or 6 months or so, we're going to come out of this in a world that is kind of probably from a technological perspective where it would have been otherwise, and it'll be a good place to be. All right. From a future employee tuning in, oh, this is cool. We have someone that's hired and hasn't started yet. They're asking a question. What strategies are you following to empower bottom level management to pass some positive vibes on, shown by leaders like you and C-level executive team through the company faces tough situations? So basically, what am I doing to help managers at Okta manage through this? I think my philosophy has always been, people, especially the kind of people that we work with, they're hardworking, ambitious. They really want to have an impact. I think the best way to inspire them and to help them act in a way that is consistent with the way I would want them to act is to just act that way. People leading by example is a powerful thing, and the more that myself and the entire management team can set a good example and be agile and be transparent and be positive and be out there talking to people, the better. Hopefully I see that paying off, and I've seen that pay off over the years too. I mean, it's something kind of the way we've tried to run the company, since the beginning, and I think I'm pretty comfortable with our success and how we built that into the culture. So I think it's going to pay well for us over the next, when times are a little bit uncertain, and we need that agility and we need that leadership. Are you anticipating an increase in hacking attempts now that more people are working from home, causing an increase in online activity? If so, how would you challenge Okta's infrastructure, and what steps is Okta taking to address this? I think that there's always hacking attempts, and I think that I'm not sure if you'll find more, but I think hackers and bad guys will try to be opportunistic and take advantage of the current situation, whether it's I'm not sure, I haven't seen this, but I'm sure there's COVID-19 phishing emails and so forth. So I kind of think about it as and this is how we kind of run Okta in the service is like, we think that there are internet hacking attempts at all times. So it's almost like we're paranoid and so worried and so focused about it. It's hard to think that there would be more, right, than what we plan for. I think that being said, it doesn't mean they might not be different, right? So I think that being adaptable to threats around a certain new, kind of consciousness in society, or a certain thing that could be taken advantage of, that's something people should think about. Yeah, I mean, security and being vigilant about security is like kind of a truism for us. And I think for more and more companies, as every company is becoming more of a technology company, it's something they're building into their processes and their culture. And whether that's, hacking, or whether that's regulatory, or how they, think about privacy and so forth, it's becoming an increased part of our consciousness. And by the way, I talked about the arc of history kind of bending toward more technology. I also think it bends toward more investment and more priority in security and privacy and so forth. So I think those things are all happening. Like we can talk about if COVID-19 or is changing that or accelerating that, and it may or may not be, but I can tell you that 5 years from now, there's going to be more technology, there's going to be more focus on security, more focus on privacy and so forth. It's just the world we're heading toward, which is I think it's a good thing to have more technology that's more secure and better for end users. So the hi Todd, is Okta releasing support guidance materials and features to help customers keeping the business up and running securely? I'm actually, I don't know the answer to that. Anything specifically beyond just doing whatever it takes to help customers adapt and thrive in this time. I do know that we have we did a version of the product. It's called Okta for Emergency Remote Work. It gives you single sign-on and MFA products up to 5 applications completely free. So if you want to use that, or if you know anyone that wants to use that, that will be helpful now. That's available free. They should take advantage of that. And one of the things about that was, while I thought it was important to do that, I'm very adamant that it's not a sales pitch. I'm even hesitant to mention it on this Q&A. It really is to help, and if it leads to 0 new sales for Okta ever, I'm fine with that. And so take advantage of it if it's helpful. If not, we don't want to use it to try to take advantage of the situation. But yeah, I think and my message to all the employees is, whether you're in services or support or engineering or product management, is like, make sure you're keeping yourself safe, make sure that the service is running, and then make sure customers are successful. Do what they need. If they need help, if they need something, they have a question, they need us to go the extra mile for them wherever possible. We got to try to do that. It's really, really important. Okay, so has any external vendor, supplier, et cetera, had issues that impacted our business in a significant way? Not that I'm aware of. We're obviously, just as a normal part of business continuity, we're very focused on risks in any vendor or supplier we have, and I'm not aware of any issues like that. I think that, like I said, we do have the mindset is that we're being vigilant and flexible and adaptive, and we also think that I think it's just prudent to not think that this is going to end tomorrow. We're making sure that we're going to be aware and on top of things for as long as this lasts, because I think it's folly to try to predict how long current situation is going to last like it is. Is Okta still hiring? How are you onboarding, or if the offices are closed? Okta is still hiring. We are onboarding remotely. We're shipping computers directly to the new hires. They're not coming to the offices, but we're figuring out how to remotely onboard. And I think that it's probably not as smooth. Our onboarding process in the offices was pretty well-oiled machine. But I'm sure that the team is smart, and the people we're hiring are smart, and they can figure out how to set up the computer and get on and get going. There's lots of questions about hiring and potential hiring freezes. My answer there is, I think that, and I think every company is probably like this. Every company is smart and thinking about what their plans are going forward and if they should change their plans. I think for Okta, it's still too early for us to know, but we are open-minded and flexible. And if we need to change our plans, we will. We're not going to be stuck with our head in the sand, but it's still very early. I mean, we're just a few weeks into this really. And, we've kind of seen anecdotes about what's going on there. Some companies doing more with Okta, some companies maybe thinking about what they're going to do with Okta. It's very, very early, and we're going to be agile and we're going to be adaptable, and we're going to work hard and thrive in the short term, and we're going to thrive in the long term. So I'm very confident about that. What is my coffee? I'm a Pete's Coffee, Major Dickinson's blend person. I'm very loyal to Major Dickinson's blend. Um, can you discuss if you're seeing an increase in growth as is being seen for Zoom, Office, Microsoft, et cetera? We are seeing more usage of the Okta service, more logins, more people connecting. So yeah, it's great. And hopefully, we think it's working awesomely for all of our customers, and we'll keep watching it and we'll keep making sure it's working great. The one caveat there is that, we've been growing for a long time, so it's pretty common that we'll see tons of growth spikes day to day, week to week on the service as more customers go live and more customers use Okta. So, we're taking the long-term view and focused on making sure everything works wonderfully. The folks helping me moderate the Q&A are telling me that there's 90 questions and I've answered 20 so far. So I think what that means my team is very subtle with me sometimes. I think what that means is hurry up. How are you maintaining your fitness regime? Got to keep moving. Got to keep moving. There's always something you can do. I was telling some people on a video chat yesterday, they were bummed out that they couldn't go to their gym, and I just said, all you have to do is, if you want to work out, just stand up and do 75 burpees in a row and see how long it takes you. That will be the best workout you've ever had. So I don't know if any of them have done it yet, but they're supposed to send me their times if they have. So this is from a journalist. Given the dramatic increase in remote workers, does this event drive more demand for and the acceptance of IAM? I think that what we've seen, and this has nothing to do with COVID-19, but the success of Okta, and I think what Okta has been able to do is really take an industry, identity and access management, that was kind of, when we started Okta, it was kind of like perceived as a company or a category that no one could build a good company in, and that if you even got any traction, some big company would buy you. You wouldn't be able to thrive alone. And we've turned this into this really kind of what everyone kind of agrees now is a really important category and a good place to be. Now, along that journey, I think the correlation of success was always with more cloud and more remote work and more mobile and more flexibility. So that's definitely true. If you're outside your network and outside the firewall, you need to know who people are logging in, and you need to have it be easy and secure. And that's been a strong that's a very, very strong correlation. I think that probably the best thing that ever happened to Okta was Microsoft really pushing Office 365, because that meant people could log in remotely to their email, and then they needed identity, and that really is when we started to take off. So I think to the degree to which people working from home is driven by COVID-19, which it definitely is being, I think that could potentially be good for us. But again, we're being flexible and agile, and as things unfold, we'll be ready to help and ready to thrive in the short term and the long term. Okay, Todd, what scares you most during this time? What scares me most is I think as a country, and depending on different countries in the world at large, I think we need to be more kind of together on how to act and how to address this. It seems like we're still fighting and arguing too much, and people are kind of pointing fingers and blaming, and this person didn't do this and that person didn't do this, instead of like, let's get together and have a solution. What scares me is like too much fighting, too much arguing, not enough solution. I don't care who was right. I don't care, who predicted what. I want a solution. So I wish that people would have that attitude more. And what scares me is when I see people, arguing and calling out versus like coming up with a solution. Hey Todd, are we planning on ending the session with a song to lift everyone's spirits? I had not thought about singing a song, and it might really scare my kids. They're at school right now upstairs on their iPads, so I'll have to think about that one. Moderators vote yes to a song. Well, maybe you have to give me some requests for a song. Have you heard any inspiring stories from your customers during this crisis? I think that there's a ton of there's a ton of energy in the customer base that's going on, whether it's, reacting to, reacting to taking a big workforce that's not always hard or not always easy to work from home and having them work from home. There's, just making people feel comfortable and confident with the technology that it's going to work under the shifting environment, whether that's like a call center that's seeing a bunch of surge in demand and the thing has to keep running, and Okta's playing a part in that. There's tons of inspiring stories, and I expect them to keep coming in. I think one of the things about the companies that we work with, there's some amazing companies and some amazing teams that are doing great work out there. Hey Todd, have you've touched on the concept of consumer identity in your past keynotes, but I think the environment we are in now could be the new normal. The line between work and social is getting more and more blurred by the day. Do you think that the time is right for consumer identity to get more engineering focused to enable this new world order? I'm really excited about customer identity. It's a significant part of our business. It's customers are using more and more of it, and we have a ton of work going on. I was just with the R&D team yesterday. I was looking at the resource allocation for what we're spending on different areas of R&D, and consumer identity is really high up there. We have a ton of, we're really building a platform and making sure that our platform is the core services of our platform are reusable in multiple parts of the products, and all of that benefits customer identity, and we're really invested there. So I'm excited about the future and what's coming there. What are some of the ways Okta has been helping the healthcare industry, and do you have plans to adapt with technology to advanced healthcare needs? We have a ton of healthcare customers, and it's been, not specific to COVID-19, but I think, they're connecting more to their patients online. We're helping them do that. We're helping them be more productive internally for their back office work and so forth. But I think specifically around the events of the world right now, it's like we just, like I said, keep the service running, keep it stable, keep it secure, keep helping them in any way to have the current technology they have run, and let them do their thing. Those people are amazing and impressive, and I'm blown away by the work that the healthcare workers are doing, and they will be doing over the weeks ahead. What are your thoughts on Oktane 20 being an online event? It's definitely a change. We love Oktane. We've gotten really used to the old format, but I'm excited about Oktane 20 Live. I think that it's, and the reason I'm most excited about it is because two reasons. First is that what we have to show in the product is just blows me away. The innovation and the capabilities of the product are amazing, and whether we're showing them over a Zoom or whether we're on a big stage at Moscone, the product is the product, and it's awesome, and I'm really excited to show it off. And then secondly, I think that the talk about adaptability, you're talking about a team that's gone from putting a 6,000 person event on to doing a totally online event, and they've done it in like 3 weeks. And the team is really showing an amazing adaptability to get that event done, and I'm really excited to see it come to fruition over the next couple of weeks. All right, Todd, what is your advice to those in the sales org right now who need to balance still having high sales targets they're expected to hit with being respectful to prospects and customers at this time? I think that I would say find the customers that need what we're selling in this time, and the ones that maybe have different priorities right now. Treat them well, help where you can, because they'll be back when they kind of dig out from this and need what we have then. It's all about being flexible and being adaptable, and taking the long-term view and helping the customer and being aware of what's going on in the customer's world, I think, or the prospect's world. I think that, and I'm very optimistic about our team's ability to do that. I think we have, I told the sales team when I spoke to them back at the sales kickoff in February that it's the best team in the industry, bar none. And part of that is because it's very, very flexible and very, to sell identity and access management is you have to be flexible and ability to really speak the customer's language and explain the value in in some ways can be complex to map the value of what we do to what the customer's trying to do. And our team is great at doing this. I'm sure that we'll thrive throughout this. All right. I'm going to leave early if you start singing again. So that person doesn't want me to sing. What is the most inspiring news you have heard in the situation when there is panic outside when there's panic outside in the community? I think there's a lot of I think the positive news is all around kind of people rallying and doing great things and trying to whether it's specific to COVID or just trying to keep keep being productive and delivering stuff. There's time when times are uncertain and things are changing, it's a challenge, and there can be, in overcoming the challenge, there can be victory, and in victory, there can be a lot of satisfaction. So I find that positive. I find people being adaptive and thriving is pretty inspiring, and I'm sure we're going to see a lot more of that in the weeks ahead. Okay, but we are getting song requests. Bob Marley's Every Little Thing, Don't Stop Believing, Gloria, I Will Survive, Gloria Gaynors. The team is actually thinking about how to produce a karaoke right online here. That might be very risky. Hello, Todd. Any tips for college seniors who are about to graduate this June? Congratulations. I'm excited that you're going to make it through college. Yeah, I would say that. Yeah, I mean, it's probably similar to what I've said throughout this call, which is, your career is going to be long, and you'll always remember the summer of 2020 when you graduated. You'll have that when you're thriving in a couple of years and doing really well. You'll always be the class that came out of college in a time of uncertainty. And the more you can do to be adaptive and take the long view, I'm confident you're going to do great. Okay, Todd, how long does it take you to do 75 burpees? I haven't done 75, so I'd have to guess, but I probably should actually do it and send you the real time besides speculating. Burpees also, it matters, like if you really jump up after them, or you there's different ways you can do them that make them harder or easier, but if you do 75 burpees, you'll get a good workout, and trust me. Hopefully there will be an end to this crisis. What advice can you provide to each of us so that we are more prepared than ever from a business standpoint when the end comes? I would say, like flexibility, trying to make sure that there are going to be things to invest in, and you have to make sure that you're ready to invest when you have that opportunity. And that's about, maintaining flexibility, whether that's with investment or whether your time or your priorities. That's the only generic advice I can give. Oh, that's a good one, actually. That's a good song request. All right, we're coming right up on time here. Are there any more questions? Oh, have you spoken? This is a good one. Have you spoken to the board since the situation has escalated? I have. I've been talking to the board a lot. I mean, I talk to the board all the time. We actually had a board meeting earlier this week on Tuesday, and it went great. And the board is, the board and I and Freddie are very aligned on a lot of the things I've said. We need to make sure we are agile and flexible, and making sure that we're ready to help customers and keep employees safe, and take advantage of things where we can invest, and make sure we're not just it would be a mistake, I think, to just try to run the exact same playbook and processes, that we did last year, because it's a different time and different times require flexibility. So that was basically the tenor of the conversation with the board. And the board is also very, very confident about Okta in the long term, in the medium term, and even in the short term. But with more uncertainty in the short term, it's definitely a long-term play for all of us on the board, and we're really excited about what's going to happen. The board also is, we showed the board the Octane demos, and there was like unanimous excitement about what we're doing for Octane. So that's going to be great as well. All right, do we have time for one more question before the top of the hour? Okay, well, I'll just close by saying, the sun will come out tomorrow. Bet your bottom dollar that tomorrow there'll be sun. Just thinking about tomorrow. Throw away the sadness and the sorrow. Tell their son tomorrow, I love you. Tomorrow, you're always a day away. Thanks, everyone.